Coming up this week on Rock for Him, we talk to Arin from the Rock and Metal Faith podcast. Hello, and welcome into the Rock for Him podcast. I am your host, Sanchez, and as you can see, once again, we are missing Mr. Jeremy Brown. That slacker has worked late again, but we will get him back on the show here pretty soon, I hope. As you can see, we are joined by my little sister, Miss Kira Starr. Kira, how's it going?
Very good. How are you?
Good. It's Monday, and you know I love doing this. But you see, our guest, he's from one of my favorite podcasts. It's one that I recently started listening to, and I got to tell you, if you don't listen to this guy's show, go do it. We are talking with Arin. He is with the Rock and Metal Faith podcast. I knew it. I said it like 14 times before the show started, and I screwed it up.
Well, you know, we had one guest on who we were cutting a promo for, or having him cut a promo, and he kept messing it up too. He kept saying it was the metal and rock or metal. He said it like 5 times. He says, "I'm going to write this on my inside of my glasses."
Anyways, Arin, thank you for joining us tonight. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, and I'm glad to be here, actually. So.
Well, I got to tell you, your show... Well, first off, people have been asking me since we put it out that you were coming on. They've been asking, why would you promote another podcast? Isn't that kind of counterintuitive? Because you guys both talk about Christian rock, Christian metal. Why would you want to draw listeners away? That's not it at all. This isn't about me. It isn't about Kira. It's about Christ. And it's about promoting the music that draws people to Christ. And your show is fantastic. And it's kind of a separate genre. Even though we talk about the same kind of stuff, it's a separate genre. So can you kind of explain to people what you guys do?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Essentially, we talk about Christian rock and metal of all types of all years. My forte is the 80s hard rock metal, you know, the Striper, Petra, White Cross, but we don't exclude newer bands. You know, I'm getting into Theocracy as well. Slowly getting into bands like those bands are a little heavier than I normally listen to, but you know, we're willing to talk about them as well. I didn't want to limit ourselves to just the 80s. I know there's bands out there that don't listen to the 80s. They listen to the newer stuff coming out, and I thought, let's draw those guys into the program as well. So,
yeah.
But and we cover everything. We'll do band overviews. We'll do album reviews. Sometimes the best of a band's catalog and all that. Kind of gone through the history of the whole genre a little bit. So.
So, have you guys done a show on Bloodgood yet?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to have to go check that one out.
Yeah, we did. I think it was the best of Bloodgood. My host wasn't able to join us tonight, and sometimes he's a little behind. I'm still trying to figure out what he listens to, because I listen to a whole lot more than what he listens to, and I have to tell him, hey, we're doing Bloodgood, go check it out, and then he'll check out like 1 or 2 albums, and when we're trying to do the best of their whole catalog, he's got like limited knowledge.
Yeah.
And or he'll do his research that day, so...
Well, the reason I ask is we just had Les Carlson on a couple months ago.
Right, yes. I actually heard that episode.
Oh, like, that guy amazed me for, I think he said he was 77 years old.
Yeah.
And he has a scream that I would put up against anyone. Like, that guy can sing. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect for Arin, so I should have figured you guys had done a show on them.
Yeah, and actually, shortly up, listened to your show. We kind of reached out. I'm not sure if the message got lost, because he never did respond. I'm sure if he saw it, he'd probably respond. He seems like one of those guys that's pretty easy going. Never heard back from him, which was okay. we've had a number of guests on our show. We don't set out to be guests exclusive, or that's
Yeah.
not the main hopes of our program. Our program is just a couple of guys sitting down talking about music we grew up with and the music that we discovered. Type of thing. So.
Hmm.
Actually got to meet Les and Joyce Carlson at my church a couple months ago. My pastor is best friends with them. My pastor was also in an 80s Christian hair band, and so he's got a really good relationship with them. So that was
Oh
kind of
wow,
cool because they
great!
performed at my church.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool to hear.
Yeah.
So, of the 80s bands, what would you say is your go-to band to listen to? What is your favorite 80s, 70s, 80s band to listen to?
Well, that answer is real easy. If you listen to our podcast a few times, there's one band I think we mentioned every episode in some form or another. And I think we did one episode where I purposely tried not to mention that band. And anytime a question pops up, musically related, who is blah blah blah, who's got the best song, blah blah blah, the answer is always Stripe. I'm thinking of making that as a T-shirt. You know, when the question is, the answer is Stripe.
I like it. I like it. So, what got you into podcasting? What gave you that itch to podcast?
Well, I was listening to. There's a couple of things actually. At the time, I was listening to Spotify on the free account, and they were doing that Spotify for Creators program they had to help people get into podcasting, and they were promoting that on their advertisements all the time. And it's got me thinking. And I listened to another one that does kind of the same thing that we do, and they just stick it in the '80s. Listen to bands that they grew up with, and that's it type of thing, and don't even venture out of the early '90s. But they had said something about when they said that it doesn't really matter how many listeners they had, they would probably still do it. They're just a couple guys who love getting on, talking about what they talk about, and they would do it. They had a couple listeners, or a couple hundred, or a couple thousand. And I thought, yeah, that's a great attitude. And you know what? I could probably do this. So, then I started on that Spotify for Creators, which made it easy to record, not very easy to edit, and took me a while to figure out how to edit a podcast and create better sound and all that. We slowly navigated over to a different program and went from there.
So how long have you been doing this?
Coming up 3 years. I think the end of this year will be 3 years. Our first episode, just to kind of get wet, was at the end of December. I know there was a lot of stuff going on in the Striper camp. I wanted to get going and talk about some of the stuff that Michael Sweet was talking about with what was going on in the music world. And I said, we got to get an episode out here real quick. And that was at the end of December. I'd have to go back and look at what year, but it would be about 2.5 years ago now. So.
Nice. So we've only been going a little bit longer than you. So nice.
And so did you have Chris on this whole time with you, your co-host?
Yes. Actually, it's funny because Chris and I have been friends for quite a while. Had kind of drifted away a little bit there. I got married and had kids, and he doesn't get around too much there. He's limited by his transportation modes. And we're outside into the city. So for us to go down and hang out with him, or for him to come up, it was getting tough. And we hadn't talked for quite a while, and then we kind of got back in touch. And then I got this idea of a podcast, and I'm going, well, who would be a great host? Because I didn't want to do it on my own. I wanted someone I could, we could have that banter back and forth and create a conversation that we do. And, well, I know Chris grew up listening to the same music, and I thought he listened to most of the music I did. Finding out as we do the program there that I listened to a lot more than I thought he did, which is good. Which is good too. There are times where him and I disagree on what's good and not, and I like that. And I tell him, I says, if you don't like something, don't be afraid to not like it. The idea of if you don't like something that I do, I think it creates better conversation than if we all just both of us just like the same things all the time.
Absolutely. And that's like one of the best parts of your show, honestly, when you're saying you like something and he's just like, I so disagree with you. Just the banter you guys go back and forth. That is some of the best podcasting there is right there. Listening to you two argue without arguing about whether or not a song is good or not.
Right.
I love it when you do your top 10 or 15 lists or whatever, and
Right.
you give one and he's just like, what? Oh, man. Like, that's why I'm saying, if people haven't listened to your show, they need to go and check you out just because it is that good. I just love that banter you guys have.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, sometimes I don't know if we should categorize ourselves as music commentary or as comedy or both. Or
Probably a little both, for sure. So, I mentioned this before the show, and I wanted to get into it a little bit with you here. Speaking of disagreeing, you had an episode a few shows back where you moved out of like the 80s and started talking about some of your favorite bands moving into the grunge era and how much you disliked that era. And that was when you and your co-host actually agreed. And I think that is probably one of your best episodes because it was very real. It
Right.
wasn't like you guys were trying to, blow smoke to anyone. You were just like, listen, the bands, they're fantastic. The music, did not like it. It's not for me. I loved how you guys did that. Did you guys catch any backlash over that?
no, and I'm surprised we haven't actually got a lot of comments on that at all. And I was kind of surprised. I thought we would get more. And the idea came from meeting one of our listeners. He lived in the same city. We had a chance to meet up. He actually had some extra Bride CDs he ordered and thought I would like them, and I did. I said I'd be happy to take. So, anyways, we met up in person, and we talked about like Guardian in the '90s with the records Buzz and Bottle Rock, and I didn't like those ones either. And as we were talking, he says, I don't like when you guys, or I shake my head when you guys talk about how much you dislike Buzz because I like those records. And I'm thinking, oh, I've got fans that like this stuff. We've got to talk about this sometime. And we've been doing like a history of the whole genre right back to the 70s. So we went right back to Sister Rosetta Tharpe and worked our way through the 70s. And I mean, we talk about the 80s bands all the time, so we just kind of highlighted the 80s. And I'm like, yeah, we should kind of get into the 90s a little bit, type of thing. And so yeah, I think it was a great episode. I tried to put a positive spin on it, going, I don't, and the episode you're talking about is the one we had done with Holy Soldier, when they did two great albums and then they come out with Promise Man, and this just doesn't sound like Holy Soldier, and even if you like grunge, this does not sound like the other two records. And I think the same thing with Guardian, the Buzz and Bottle Rock don't sound like Miracle Mile or Love. I remember the other now, but and Bride did the same thing. They're always switching styles every couple albums, and they came out with Jesus Experience and the Oddities, and I'm going, they keep putting this out. I think I'm not in anymore.
Nice. So yeah, Kira.
Do you ever go to any festivals? Have you been to any festivals?
Not really, only because we live so far away. So for those who don't know, I live up in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. That's north of Montana by a few hours.
That's why you got the accent. That makes sense. I was going to ask you about that. I used to live in Minnesota, so you sounded like that. Ooh.
Right. So yeah, so the problem with that is there aren't even very many bands that come our way. If they do, I know when Petra did their reunion 50-year anniversary tour, there was a church in Cochrane, which is just outside of Calgary. Calgary is about 3 hours from us. So I'm like, at the time that was the only Canadian date, the only Alberta date. I'm like, oh, we can make a road trip and go there. That's not that far. So we did that, And then the next summer, they announced Edmonton date, and they were doing more of a Canadian leg and tour and all this. There, but there haven't been many bands come through. Few bands now. We're starting to see some bands, even on the secular side, that we haven't seen in many, many years. So I'm hoping some more of the Christian bands will kind of look at that and go, there may be a market up here.
Yeah.
But if I had access, if I was close to festival sites, I would definitely go.
Yeah, you need to make it down here for some of these Midwestern festivals. Like, I am shocked at just how big the Christian rock community is out here. Like, I'm so excited. It's so amazing.
Yeah, the next few months is just going to be absolutely insane, just thick with festivals down here. So,
Yeah.
So, I know you primarily focus on like the 80s. You got a little bit into the 90s, but are there any current bands, any newer bands that get you excited that you're just like, oh, this music is fantastic?
Yeah, I like Chaotic Resemblance, and both Chris and I like Theocracy. I'm not sure how much we listen, especially with all the music that I'm listening to. Sometimes getting ready for the podcast, just trying to listen to more bands that I think I should be getting into. Slowly getting into Demon Hunter, just because I know they're a popular band. I like some of their stuff's kind of hit and miss with me. I'm not into that metal core growling, screaming that they do. I did pick up one of their CDs at a secondhand shop. Extremist, I think, was the one I picked up. So. And slowly getting into Disciple.
Disciple is excellent. We had those guys on right after Skeleton Psalms came out.
Okay.
Yeah, fantastic guys. Chaotic Resemblance, they're friends of ours. Fantastic musicians. I get what you're saying about the whole screaming stuff. Like, I love heavy, screamy music, but I like the clean vocals in it. I want to hear what they're saying. But
yeah.
I recently, and I'm angry at Jeremy and Kira for not bringing these guys to me sooner, but I recently started listening to Impending Doom.
Okay.
Like, those guys are screamers, but I challenge anyone to listen to their song Christ is King and not just be like, oh, because I hit shuffle on Spotify and that song came up and I was just like, okay.
Yeah, the passion. That's what I'm all about. That screamy, hardcore stuff. That's all me. That's all me.
Well, we talked about that, I think, on the last episode that you're referencing, is we always do this plug it in segment where we introduce the band that maybe doesn't get quite so much promotion. And we were talking about, I have to look up who it was. We're talking about this other band that does some screaming but some singing as well, and they're on the 40th anniversary of To Hell with the Devil, which is a bunch of heavy artists redoing songs off of that Striper album. And I'm listening to it going, well, I like the singing part. When the other guy comes in and does the screaming, I'm not into that. Then I started thinking, way back in the 80s, I was listening to Vengeance Rising. That guy did a lot of screaming too. So.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we just got that CD was just sent to us too. The 40th of that. I bet I know who it is that you were talking about. I'm gonna talk amongst yourselves. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Well, I actually downloaded the one, Becoming Sons.
Oh, Becoming Sons, friends of ours.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, like there's a couple of them on that record that we know.
Okay.
But yeah, Becoming Sons, Motovic.
Some of those I hadn't heard before, but then when Reign and Glory does To Hell with the Devil, I love that. They're talking about who are the new bands I like, and Reign and Glory I consider one of these super groups. They're members that formed out of other groups, and I love Reign and Glory. I got both their albums so far, and yeah, when I first song from theirs I heard just blew me away. So there's another new band that I like. And I know we were talking too about if Michael Sweet and Striper ever had to step away from the vocals and just play guitar, who would replace him on vocals? So we're kicking around different ideas. But when I heard that cover version of "To Hell the Devil," I'm going, there you go. The guy from Reign and Glory could do it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, that's like, have you heard the band Ignescent?
Yes, I've heard them.
They've got a few cover songs out that are just. They actually did one with Les. They did. Right. Trying to think of which one. I think it was a cover of a Queen song.
Okay.
I think they did "We Will Rock You," and it was amazing.
Yeah, they did a Petra cover as well.
Yeah, they did. He came, he saw, he conquered.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was definitely a good one. I'm kind of a cover song nerd, so that Striper cover CD was right in my wheelhouse. Like, heavy bands covering older band songs. Right. Chef's kiss.
Talking about grunge scene and covers, and this is an episode we're going to get to probably sometime this summer. But in the mid-'90s, there was a tribute to Striper, and it was all these '90s bands covering Striper songs. And I'm not sure if you heard that one. It was called Sweet Family Music.
But I haven't.
I thought the album was horrible. It was terrible. Like, I bought it because, Striper tribute, I got to get this. And threw it on and going, this is bad. Like, they took all the essence of the songs and stripped it away and made it something else. And, there's a couple of songs on there that are close to the original and kind of redeeming. And as it says, we're going through this whole grunge series now and 90s series. Because we're going to have to cover this album at some point. And Chris, my co-host, hasn't heard it. And usually I send him the songs ahead of time, or to say, here's a playlist available in here, YouTube or Spotify, Apple, wherever. I'm going to just do a reaction with this and not even send him the songs ahead of time and just play the songs and get his reaction, because we're going to have fun cutting this record up just because it was not a tribute at all.
Nice. Love it. Love it. I'll give you one cover that you guys need to talk about, but you can only find it on YouTube.
Okay.
It is Mawcore and their cover of the Beatles' Eleanor Rigby.
Okay.
So good. So good. Telling you, you guys need to check out Mawcore. I think you'd really like them.
All right, I'll check that out.
So what got you into this kind of music?
Well, I like the style of music ever since I started listening to music. Once you hear rock and roll, I was hooked. And the funny thing is, most people discover Christian metal from something. I don't know whether it came on the radio, whether this, that. And I don't even know how other people discovered it. I discovered it just because I had this idea, I should listen to Christian metal. And I didn't know where to find it or anything like this. And reading the magazines, the Hip Raiders and Metal Edge back in the 80s, they kept talking about this band Striper. It was a heavy band, but saying them, God. So I'm like, So the funny thing was, I didn't get into them until late. I got into Striper about the time In God We Trust came out. I bought In God We Trust. I bought To Hell the Devil both at the same time. And I was hooked ever since then. But then I had friends in school who were in the church as well. And I hung out with people from different churches all the time. I went to one church, but friends I knew were in a different church. And denominations never mattered to me. It just, if you're a believer, you're a believer. And so they were turning me on to Petra. And this was late in the game. I didn't discover Petra until I think it was Unseen Power album. And then I had to go back a little bit to find out the other stuff they put out. I discovered White Cross through my friends. And then once I realized, there's a place you can get these, they started turning me on to the bookstores. I was, for those who are newer or younger than us, back in the 80s, you had these Christian bookstores. And that's how you found music. Go there, they had listening stations, listen to the albums ahead of time, decide if you liked it or not, and then go ahead and buy it if you liked it. So it just went from there.
Well, I know, like, for me, I grew up listening to rock metal, not Christian. When I gave my life to Christ, all I heard was, like, the mainstream Christian music, and I was like, no. Like, it was all Jesus is my boyfriend music. Like, Jesus hold my hand, Jesus carry me, Jesus cuddle me, and I'm like, that's not me. I can't listen to that. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it. I'm like, if I have to go through eternity listening to this, it's just not going to work for me. And then I discovered Christian metal, and I was like, thank you, Lord. And that's kind of why I love doing rock for him, because there's times where Kira or Jeremy will say, hey, I want this band on, and they'll throw me the music, and I'm like, ooh, I like this. Like, no one I'd ever heard before. I've discovered so many bands through this show.
Right.
It's amazing. I mean, has that happened to you where you're like, oh, I never even knew about these guys?
A little bit. Most of the stuff I'm discovering nowadays is kind of through Facebook groups. You know, someone says, oh, you got to check out this band, or you got to check out that band. I'm like, oh, okay. Actually, one of the bands I just discovered, just because of some Facebook posts, which I think they've been around for a while, and so I threw them on Spotify random list, and these guys aren't bad. All for the King. And I never heard of them until like the other day. And someone had made a post with them on Facebook, and oh, maybe I should check those guys out. But geez, you know, another band I got to get into now.
Nice.
Yeah, that's why I post music every day on my page. It's all the screamy stuff, but because I'm trying to help, you know, put that out there, and I want people to hear that raw emotion, that real life, like, this is hard, but I got God, and so that's why I'm okay.
Yep, absolutely. So, do you have like one band, and you cannot say Striper, that is like an old school band that you think has been flying under the radar, that most people are like, who? What? But you're just like, oh, these guys are so good.
You know, maybe White Cross. Other than their albums that they put in the 90s, and those were two albums that they did without their main guitarist, Rex Carroll, who had left for a couple records. Anything he's done has been just incredible. We've had him on our program a few times. But Love was the Triumph and Return album, and the Kina album was good. And a couple of years ago, they were back with a new vocalist, kind of a new band, but that band been with Rex for a number of years now, and puts out a brand new album, and that just blew both of us away. Blew Chris and myself away, and I'm like, oh, this is great. These guys are back. Another band, you know, maybe under the radar, like that gritty, record blues-driven sound of AC/DC would be Exeter. Came out with a new album the end of last year, and stuff. So yeah, you know, and everybody says, well, don't call us, you know, AC/DC type thing. And I know they did an interview on someone's podcast saying, well, we're not trying to be AC/DC, but we just write the music we like to write, you know, just that pretty driven music, or blues driven type music, which is how I describe AC/DC anyway. So.
Yeah, for sure. Surprisingly enough, back when I was in high school, a long time ago, White Cross actually played at my high school.
Oh, wow.
I don't know why. I didn't go see him because at that time I was like, Christians and Christian metal bad. Right. But yeah, I remember that there was a whole big thing at my school that they were playing my high school. And I think it's kind of hard for bands back then that I think a lot of them do get kind of put in that, oh, you guys sounded like AC/DC genre. Because I know I personally said that to Les when he was on. Like, I listened to him like, oh, this is what I've been missing. Like, listening to Bloodgood, listening to his new music. I was like, dude, like, your vocals are like Bon Scott type quality at, you know, right now. And he just got this big old grin, and he was like, thank you. Like, that's a huge compliment.
Yeah, I think especially when he does the screams, he'd be probably more comparable to Rob Halford, actually. So.
Oh, that too. I didn't think about that. What you got, Garrison? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're fine. So, do you still listen to like the 80s secular at all?
Yeah, I do. I listen to try to listen to everything, and even branched out styles. I'm into everything from that '80s hard rock to even the blues. When the '90s hit, instead of going grunge, I went backwards and went to the blues. But yeah, so I listen to everything. I still listen to my favorite bands from back then, and and then some of them tried carrying on, and some of them put out newer stuff, and I'm going, you guys just aren't as good as they were anymore.
Yeah, I definitely still have some like Slaughter and some Cinderella on my playlist.
Right?
Good.
Yeah, and my wife is into that '80s term hair metal, and quite often we're in the car when we listen to the Hair Nation because that's the one station we can both agree on. She's into other stuff too. She's into country. I'm not into country, and when she's not in the car, I like listening to the Ozzy's Boneyard because it's more than just a 5-7 year span of music. They play everything. So
Yeah.
You're about to
Yeah.
see my kid walk in here. My dog just busted through the door. Sorry, he's causing chaos in here. My kid's trying to crawl so she's not on camera. Oh, sorry about that, everyone.
nope, no problem.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think that listening to some secular music is all that bad. I mean, I still listen to Metallica, Faith No More. Like, Faith No More was one of my favorite bands back in the day. Like, I have every release from Faith No More, even some of the bootleg stuff. I mean, I have it because that's how much I loved that band. So I don't think it's a bad thing to necessarily listen to it, but you got to take it with like a grain of salt. Now, could I listen to Marilyn Manson now? No, I've had to get rid of all that. But I don't think secular music is all that bad. But for the most part, my music is 100%. Well, not 100, about 95% Christian rock and metal now. I want to put a challenge to you, Arin, because you mentioned listening to some blues.
Okay.
So I want you to do an episode because I love blues.
Okay.
And I have yet to find this, but Christian blues artists. Like a straight up, they're like, it's Christian blues. I need you guys to do an episode.
I'd love to. Actually, that'd be a great episode. There's very little out there, unfortunately. Close. I know, although Rex Carroll did put out a solo project that was kind of bluesy. It was more of a blues rock type of thing. And the closest thing to blues, I guess you would say, would be Rez. And we've talked about them quite a bit. They had the one song, one of my favorite songs from them, off the Innocent Blood, called the song's called "Where Roses Grow," and that's a straight up blues song, and it's beautiful. And they've done a few others throughout their career too. Another favorite band of mine, being Rez. And I think in the '70s there was Daryl Mansfield, which I've heard a little bit, but unfortunately, even his biggest album isn't available in streaming services, and it's hard to find. There's a little bit out there, very hard to find.
Yeah.
It would be great to find more.
Well, if I find any, I'll send it your way.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Awesome.
same. Because I think we have a few. I'm a part of this immersion music festival that's happening in Circleville, Ohio, and we do a variety of all different kinds of bands and artists. And we do have a few that are the blues. So I'll have to find out exactly who that is and let you know.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And then if we had found out more, and we could definitely talk about more of them on that program.
But I know there's a lot of local stuff in Ohio. There's a lot. I'm actually shocked, like how much variety there is out here.
So, I want to ask you, like, where do you stand on AI music? As a music guy, doing a music podcast, where do you stand on AI music?
Yeah, no, I don't like it, and I believe creativity. Creative arts should be creative and human created. When it comes to using AI as a tool, I use AI a fair amount in putting together the podcast and doing the production end of it. But when you're creating something, you know, it should be human created.
Like, AI is fun to play with. Like, it is. I I have a picture of all three of us hosts. None of us are in the same town,
Right.
and I sent it. I sent it to Jeremy and Kira, and Kira's head is like this big. It's huge. Jeremy's about this wide, and I'm just
Well,
like,
stuff. It depends on how it's done. Like in music, I don't like it at all.
yeah,
I know my co-host was down with it just because I'm like, if you can't do the art, and I'm a home guitarist as well. I'm not great at it. I'm not really good to be in a band. Play around. I've been playing around with guitar since high school, and but I don't want I don't want AI to create my guitar. If you can't do it, you can't do it. I think
right,
you can look at maybe that's not your calling. Maybe you think it is, but maybe it's not your calling. And as far as these AI pictures that you see on Facebook, they're kind of cute. I see it all the time. They turn band album covers into an alternate version, and I'm going, what's the point of that? But then at the same time, I played around with it. When those baby rock star videos were going around on TikTok, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cute. I like that. And I made a couple of them based on Christian rock stars and turned them into colors and put music behind it. So it was kind of fun for a while. Now the big thing is those Muppet ones going around, and
yeah,
they're cute to look at. But yeah, when you're creating a song, I asked the same question to any of the guests that are on our program, on our podcast, and I think Dale Thompson from Bride kind of said it best. He said something about, yeah, he didn't like it, but what did he say now? But yeah, it's just not being creative. Oh yeah, and he
right,
talked about, it's not organic, and he talked about the time you spend in the studio and sitting on the mic and trying to get the right sound, and you'll spend hours moving the mic around and switching amps out in and out, trying to figure out what kind of sound you're going to get before you even go in and record. So there's none of that. It's like AI is making everything too easy, and you need to go through that other part of it.
yeah. Well, I've talked to a few of the bands that we deal with, and they're like, if the song's good enough, send it to us. Like, we will work with it. Not rock for him, but I mean, like, the bands themselves. Like, if you wrote a song and you're just like, hey, I don't know how to play, but I wrote this amazing song,
Right.
reach out to bands. Like, they're always looking for songs. So,
Yeah, that's a good idea. I never thought of that, but yeah, definitely a good
Yeah,
idea.
I get that a lot. I have a lot of people that'll send me the same message. It's God put this song on my heart, and I use AI. Will you listen to it? And I'm like, well, I don't listen to AI. Sorry. But yeah, that's a great idea. I'll just be like, send it to any band. See what they think.
yep, for sure. So, what comes next for you guys? Like, what kind of shows do you guys got coming up? You just did this awesome show all about Striper where you had another, what was it, To Hell with the Podcast on?
Right. Yeah, and that was the one we recorded a little bit back. Trying to right now the workflow. I'm trying to compress my workflow, get a bunch of stuff done, and then work on it slowly again now. Just because I know, especially August, my family life, home life is going to get real busy. I won't have so much time. I'm like, if I can create a lot of episodes in a short time, all I have to do is sit back and edit, and I can put them out in my leisure. But yeah, we're going to do the same thing we normally do. Talk about 80s bands, talk about some newer bands as well. And there's a lot of bands that were kind of aren't new anymore, but anything beyond the mid 90s feels like a new band to me, just because you know I used to joke around and say I still think Nirvana is a new band type of thing.
Yes.
And but yeah, so we'll do that. See where it goes. What we got planned.
Well, if you ever do bands from now,
right,
Kira and I will come on and share our wisdom.
Yeah,
which I have none.
Oh, I'm sure you probably got more than me. Like, and I've been thinking about doing, maybe a disciple episode, and I know very little about disciples, so maybe I'll invite you guys on. And
Awesome. I'm sorry. I think I cut you off. What were you saying?
yeah. So we're gonna do the same thing. I know in August I've got one episode in the can. I just got to edit, and I've been saving it for August. It's We've been doing a interview series with Rex Carroll. He came on and talked about what happened when the band broke up, what happened when he left the band, everything that went on behind the recording of In the Kingdom. But he said he was also happy to talk about all the records. He's almost a friend of the podcast, where he will come on anytime we ask him to come on. Just send him a note saying, "Hey, are you available? Do you want to come on?" And he'll come on. Last time we had him on, we sat down and recorded 2 episodes back to back. And knowing I'm going to be busy in August, I says I'll save one for August. And so we got that coming out. He's going to be talking about what was before Trump. I can't remember. Anyways, one of the albums. We got that. We're probably going to do more grunge coming up. I know we just recorded No, we haven't yet. This week we're going to record an episode about the Guardian records in the 90s. And talking about that. And what was the last one we recorded? What was the last one? Oh, talking about Neon Cross. I'm trying to kind of go alternate, classic bands, and then something not so classic, something newer, maybe something alternative, and jump back and forth. It's not going to completely work out that way. We might have 2 classic ones and then 2 alternate ones. But yeah, just keep doing what we've been doing. And I made a whole list of bands that are out there, and slowly crossing them off as we talk about them. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about them more than once either. So.
Right. Yeah, we find ourselves doing that a lot too. Is like there's all these fantastic bands that are just up and coming, but we find ourselves talking to a lot of the same guys. Like we've had some guys on 4 or 5 times because they're amazing to talk to. Like Jamie from 13 Minutes. Right. I think he's been on 4 times. Ash Relesser from Relesser. That guy comes on. It's all day a 3-hour episode when he comes on, and we've had him 4 times. Wow. Like, it's amazing talking to these artists and getting just to know them beyond the music. And you know what? We've neglected to ask. Kira, you did not remind me.
What?
Can you share your testimony with us, Arin?
Sure. Well, I'm one of these guys that, I don't know, don't have this amazing testimony, like I lived a life or whatever. I grew up in the church. And yeah, so I was around the church all the time. And then had friends in other churches through school and this and that. I went to concerts. And my teen life is like most teen life, kind of up and down spiritually. I'm like, I'm all for God. And then next month I'm walking away, and I don't want to be part of this anymore. And next month I'm back to walking with God. I think kind of had walked away for a little bit before I met my wife, a little bit, and then when we had our first kid, I'm like, I gotta. There was just this urge on my heart saying, it's time to come back, and so I did, and I've been kind of all in ever since then. And yeah, just raised in the church, and I knew all about God, and at one point it's time to say, it's time to be all in.
Awesome. That's good. Sometimes we don't need I think it's great when you don't have to go through hell and back like some of us. So that's a blessing. Good for you.
And we tell this to our guests all the time when they say, it's not that fantastic of a story. I grew up in church and I eventually came to know Christ through the church. You know what? You came to know Christ. That itself is beautiful. Like, I don't care how it happened.
And you talk about, listening to 80s rock, and I listen to 80s rock, and I'm like, I want to be a rock star. I pick the guitar and try to learn playing the guitar, and I haven't stopped trying to learn. I haven't really gotten anywhere with it. But I look back going, maybe it's good that I didn't become a rock star. I would, otherwise I would have a life full of drugs and alcohol and wasted, and maybe I would have turned my life around at some point. I don't know. But I'm going, look at all the mistakes I avoided by not being a rock star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that.
100%.
So who all have you like had on your podcast as guests?
Well, for the big names, like I said, we had Rex Carroll, we had Ken Champlin on there, Dale Thompson a couple times. We had Scott Wenzel of White Cross. That was actually an interesting episode because he couldn't figure out the technology to come on our video program. But then we had Kerry Kosher Womack of One Bad Pig. The second time we had Lee Harvey, who is a new member of One Bad Pig. We've had Doug Van Pelt from Heaven's Metal. And then we've had some smaller guys. Like I said, we started this Plug It In segment, and some guys have reached out to us saying, we'd like this to be on your program, or we'd like this song to be on your program. And I check out the band, and I go, these guys are really good. Maybe we should not just play the song, but bring them on and talk to them. And so we've had some kind of independent artists come on. We had first guy like that was Mark Speck of a band called
Yes.
So yeah, he was one of our first guests on. Actually, we were looking for people to promote, and he sent us like this whole press kit, and we were going, "This is a great band."
Mark Speck, he is a hometown boy. He lives not too far from me. Yes.
Oh, great. Yes. And who else? We had guy is named Tony, and his music project is called Revelation Signal. He's the guy that was in a few cover bands and tribute bands, the Nirvana tribute band, and decided, become a Christian, and decided he didn't want to do the Nirvana scene, and started creating his own Christian music. Really good stuff. He doesn't have a lot of stuff out there on the streaming stuff, about 4 or 5 songs is all, but it's really good stuff.
That's cool. That's very cool. And I love that you guys had Mark on. Like we had him on, and that's actually our most watched episode is when we had Mark Speck on. And I wasn't even on that show. It was Jeremy hosting. It was just Jeremy and Mark. And I mean, the amount of views that episode had is absolutely unbelievable, and it still goes up.
Oh, good, yeah. Don't know if we released a video for that one. At the time, we were still learning how things worked. We were recorded in video, and then we were throwing stuff on YouTube, but it was just a still picture behind the audio. And actually, it was Tony from Revelation Signal that kind of kicked us in the butt there, because we did his interview and released it, and then he goes back to us and says, "So what happened to the video?" Oh, I suppose I could put the video up, and that was the first time I thought about doing that, They were just thinking of us as an audio podcast.
Yeah.
The only reason we're going YouTube was because Google wasn't doing an audio podcast anymore. They said, "You want an audio podcast, just go on YouTube." So like, okay.
And I love that you've had Dale Thompson on, because I'm sad to admit I have been friends with him for a while on Facebook. No idea who he was.
Oh, really?
He friend requested me, and I was just like, all right, accepted him. And then we got We Are Resolute's album.
Okay.
And I seen his name on there. I'm like, why do I know this name? And Jeremy's like, dude, that's the lead singer of Bride. I was like, really?
I've been a huge fan of Bride, and I remember we had him on twice. We had him on with just before the last album came out, the Shadows and Vipers, and I remember him doing a post. I guess he was tired of everybody talking and asking him about Snakes in the Playground all the time, because he did a post. He says, "I'm not doing any more interviews. I'm not talking about Snakes in the Playground. That's all anybody wants to talk about," which was their huge signature album back in, I think, 89 or something like that. So I says, well, come on our program, we'll talk about your new record. And we hadn't even heard the stuff yet, but it says, come on and talk about Snakes or Shadows and Vipers. So we had him kind of talk about the songs without us even hearing them, type of thing. And we had him on twice because for those who are in the know or follow him on Facebook, there he says, Bride is winding down. He's wrapping up any shows he's got booked. He's wrapping. He says, if you want me on your program or your podcast to do an interview, schedule the interview because once they're scheduled, I'm done. No more. No. I've always wanted him to come on to talk about specific songs. I want to know the idea of what happened. What was going on when he wrote certain songs. So I said, well, come on again. And so we came on and we talked again about the history of Bride and winding down. But I talked about some songs and the history behind them and all that too. So.
Well, looking at the time, we're going to be moving into prayer pretty quick. Kira, do you have any more questions before we...
One last question. What is your most played song? Like the one song you play on repeat the most?
Oh, that'd be tough. So a lot of times I've got a big list of stuff. I don't know, it's probably something from Striper, and I don't even know if I could pick a specific song. And it's because a lot of times when I'm listening to music now, it's listening for, what are we talking about on the podcast? Well, we just talked about Neon Cross, so I was listening to their debut record quite a bit, and I have that. I didn't have to go searching for that. I have that. Now we're going to be talking about Guardian, so I'm going to be listening to some Guardian music. And I've got this big list of bands I don't know that well. I've heard their songs a few times, but like when I grew up in the 80s, I knew songs inside and out. I knew every lyric. I knew just about every note the guitar played. And so I'm listening to stuff nowadays going, okay, I can probably recognize the band, but I don't know if I know the song anymore. So I've got a lot of bands like that I'm just listening to, just trying to get to know them more.
Gotcha. So where can the Rock for Him listeners go to find your podcast? Where can they hear you? Where can they find you?
We're on essentially any podcast platform. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. We are on YouTube with the YouTube channel. If you want to watch us or throw us on to, listen to it through YouTube, I don't love that. We're on lots of other ones. I think we're on iHeartRadio. Any place I can think of that runs a podcast, I've tried to send the feed out there so that hopefully I haven't missed anybody. But if I have, and if you're looking for us on a certain platform, get a hold of us on another platform, email us, whatever, say, hey, you missed this platform, I'll try and get us out there.
All right, so you guys heard them. Go follow them. I got to tell you, this is how I know our phones listen to us. Because I was listening to your Striper episode. I get on YouTube to drop our promo for this week. Once I'm done, I just have videos playing as I'm working on some more stuff. What comes up? You.
Oh, thanks.
I was like, all right, I guess I'm listening to it again. So, but yeah. So anyways, everyone go check out Arin and his podcast, the Rock and Metal Faith podcast. I'm telling you, it is fantastic. You will find something that you enjoy in there. Arin, how can we be praying for you today? And how can we pray for the podcast and your co-host?
Well, me specifically, I don't know. I don't want to get into specific details. There's a little tension in family life, so maybe you can pray for that everybody learns to, maybe live in love. I've got some family members that have walked away. Even though I try teaching them and bringing them to Christ, they right now have walked away, so you can pray for that. And for the podcast, well, just pray that it grows. We're always telling people, don't keep this a best kept secret. Let others know about it. We like to, as much as I say we're going to do this no matter what, it's still nice to see the podcast grow. We've bring on a few guests that I've been trying to get hold of, but haven't been able to get a hold of.
We get that. Absolutely. And I get what you're saying about the whole podcast growth thing. I mean, we do the same thing. Like, we don't care if we have one listener or 1,000 listeners. If it reaches one person, we are happy. So.
Yeah. I like it too, being in band. Everybody starts a high school band because they like the music. They're just playing in the basement or whatever and having a jam session, and that's great. But after period of time, if that's all you're doing, it's either going to fall apart, or you hope it gets bigger, and you hope you slowly go bigger, bigger, bigger. And it's the same thing like the other podcasts that are out there that kind of put the seed in my head. What we have for listeners and followers is all we get. Okay, we'll still do this the program.
Yeah.
I love getting on every week and talking about what we talk about. I like to see it grow, but I'm not going to be heartbroken if it doesn't. So.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close us out in prayer. So, great and Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for Arin and Chris and for their show. Lord, I ask that you just continue to bless them, encourage them, keep them focused on you and all that they do. Lord, I ask that you bless their show and just keep them focused on the fact that that show is yours and not theirs. Lord, I ask that you watch over Arin's family. You know the struggles that are happening, so please just put a hedge of protection around them. Give them strength, give them courage, and help them work through whatever the issues are. Lord, you can do that, so I ask you just be with them. And please just bless Arin. He is such a blessing to all those that listen to his show, and we're thankful for him. But Lord, most of all, we are thankful for you sending your Son, Jesus Christ, to die for our sins on that cross. In Jesus' precious and holy name, amen.
Amen.
Kira, you know what to do.
Thank you so much, Arin. It's been great getting to know you. Maybe next time we'll be able to get Chris on here too. So this has been awesome. Jason, it's always a pleasure. And remember, guys, go check out Rock and Metal Faith podcast on just about every platform. And remember, if you're gonna rock for him.
Rock for him.
If you like what you saw today, hit the subscribe and like button down below, and don't forget to share it to all your friends. Also, leave us a comment down below. If you're gonna rock for him.
Coming up next week on Rock for Him, we talk to the guys from Millennial Reign.